This is Center Stage, putting lawyers in the spotlight by highlighting attorneys and other industry experts to help take your law firm to the next level. Hey everyone, and welcome to Center Stage. I'm your host, John Hinson, and this week we are talking about why you should and how to actually work with outside partners, vendors, service providers, whatever you want to call them. And I think a lot of times, when this conversation comes around, when you're looking at delegating some of your work to some of these outside vendors, the conversation is usually pretty granular, and it just kind of focuses on what each individual vendor can provide for you. But this week, we're going to kind of back out a little bit, kind of go really 10,000 foot view and really talk about, not just what, benefits that vendors can provide you in general, but how you can work with them to really maximize the ROI, and we've got inside tips from vendors ourselves, us at Spotlight Branding. We provide marketing services. And my guest this week, Nicole Bernard, she also runs her own marketing business. And so she is here to help us out this week. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah. So before we jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you at? What are you doing?
Yeah, totally. I have been an entrepreneur since 2007. My husband and I had an organic farm and brewery for 7 years, where we literally created too much traffic and ended up closing because our neighbors weren't as happy. And from there, I went and worked at a few digital marketing agencies and then branched out on my own in 2016. So I've been providing services. And I was coaching, and that was kind of during COVID. I was doing a lot of coaching, and then I've kind of actually transitioned back into that done-for-you agency model. So yeah, just helping businesses everywhere with their marketing struggles.
Awesome. So when it comes to first, and I guess kind of a bigger question, what should we be called nowadays? Are we vendors? Are we partners? Like, what are we? What's the?
I don't know. Therapists? I don't know. Like there's. I feel like it's always evolving as the name, but yeah, I mean, I guess a vendor, I don't know, a team member, a delegated team member, I don't know.
We'll run with it. So we talk about, delegating being a big thing, but when as a business owner, you get to that point where you're looking for some outside help, maybe you don't have the full budget to bring someone in-house as a full-time position. But just in general, especially for some solo and small law firms like, our audience is for the most part, what benefits do outside vendors like Spotlight Branding, like what you do, what do they provide for these small businesses?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, first off is, time, it gives them back their time to get in and really do, you guys didn't open your businesses to market all the time, right. You got to do what you love and practice and all of that. So I'd say time first off. But, I do understand that struggle, being a business owner, and it's kind of hard to really figure out how do I work this into my budget? Who's the right person for me? But also too, knowing that, be able to let go and let them do what they're great at because they have more experience in the marketing, you know what I mean? And, being able to use those strategies to grow the business. So those are the two that come to mind. They get their time back. And then it's also someone that really knows and loves doing that aspect, which a lot of law firm owners probably don't, Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, when you talk about time, I mean, one of the things that really, kind of turned on the light bulb for me was, most solo, lawyers, they're not working a standard 40-hour week. They're going, maybe 60, 70 hours in a week, but how many of those hours are being spent doing non-legal work? Maybe they're doing their books, they're doing the marketing that they need to do to keep, to kind of prevent the peaks and valleys coming in, keep a steady flow of business coming in. But you farm that stuff out, you delegate that stuff out. Now you have 10, 20, 30 hours that you were spending doing that. And now that's either extra billable hours that you have, or it's time that you can just relax and be with your family and actually enjoy the benefits of the business that you started.
Definitely. Well, also too, the main thing that just came to mind too is that, digital marketing's always evolving. So you kind of have to stay on top of it. So that's a whole other aspect of, what they're not doing, they're doing other things. So just having to try and keep up with those trends so you get the best results, that's a whole other bucket of time.
Right. So outside of marketing, obviously marketing is a big one. There's a lot of marketing vendors and firms out there that are willing to help. But what other sorts of functions and tasks can and should solo and small firm business owners, lawyers, whatever, what other kinds of things should they delegate to some outside help?
Yeah, totally. Have you ever, I'm sure you know Brett Tremblay. Has he ever been on here with Get Stepped Up?
Yes.
Like I go back to his exercise all the time. It's like you take a piece of paper, write down, what you hate doing, what you're not good at, and then start from there. So I don't know if you talked about that on your show, but if not, I would recommend doing that. But because there's so many little things, just between all the marketing tasks, social media, search engine optimization, content creation, emails, looking at the reports to even figure out what that means and, how you can change your strategy for better results. And then email delegation of just being in the inbox like that. Once I got that off my plate, I was like, oh my God, I've saved so much time.
Yeah. Brett was on our show. I think he's episode 41, I think, if I've got it right. So definitely check out that previous episode. But to your point, even if it's like, there could be like some aspects of legal work that you don't particularly like doing. Right. There are vendors out there who do that. You can, contract out another like freelance lawyer or something like that to handle some aspects of the case that you're not particularly fond of. So you can really focus in on all of that. And so, just doing a little bit of research, you're going to find that there's so many things that you can delegate out that you no longer have to do. And now you have suddenly this endless amount of possibilities to get back some of your time to actually focus on doing what you enjoy doing. So, with that in mind, what kind of advice do you have for small firm owners, small business owners, when it comes to working with vendors?
I see communication is probably like the biggest problem area that I've seen, because I've coached actually a lot of lawyers over the last year and a half. And when I get on these coaching calls, they're not versed in all the marketing terminology. They know law. That's what they're doing. They're running their business. And I think what I've seen is vendors that are kind of, throwing CTR rate or SEO, but they don't really understand what that means. And they're kind of nervous to ask, you know what I mean? So my number one tip would be like, don't be afraid to ask any questions. You are paying these people to do these activities and you have to know why they're doing what they're doing, what results you're getting. And so just things like that. Like one of my coaching clients was spending like $4,000 in pay-per-click. And I was like, well, where's your report? And she's like, well, I don't get a report. And I was like, what do you mean you don't get a report? And she was not getting any leads. And so we stopped that. But really just try finding a vendor that will tell you everything. It should be very transparent and open communication and working together for your goals.
Yeah. That's one of my biggest pet peeves on that is these marketing companies who, whether it's in their sales presentations or just kind of in that ongoing thing, they'll send you a report. It's full of charts and graphs and like abbreviations and stuff. But then I hate to say it, but a lot of lawyers just don't ask those questions, and I don't know if it's an ego thing where it's like, you've been trained your whole life. People have always told you you're smart. You believe you're smart. So like, you don't want to show that vulnerability or weakness or whatever, but it's totally okay, and the kind of a second component to that communication piece is make sure that like your goals are aligned with what your vendor is trying to accomplish, So like, for example, we Spotlight Branding, we focus on the referral side of things. So if someone comes to us and they've looked at our website and they're like, hey, I want to work with you guys. Cool. This is what we do. Okay, cool. I'm just going to sign the agreement. You guys go to work. And we've had people do this. And then like 3 months later, it's like, hey, you guys, I haven't gotten any leads. And I'm like, we're not a lead generation company.
Right.
This is what we're doing. And that, and so, and sure, some of the onus can be put on us for not doing a better job of making sure that they understood that's what we were doing. But, the communication is still a two-way street.
Totally. Yeah. And I've seen this too. That makes me think a lot of, whether they're lawyers or just any business owners, when they start with a marketing company, they're like, okay, like I am going to delegate it and that's going to be it. And sure, you can do that. But as to your point, really being like working together, like, what's coming up? What kind of content? Can you take some pictures? People really want to see you as the business owner. Like, we don't want all stock photos. Of course, there's a time and a place for those. But, if you can contribute and not just 100% delegate, like your results are just going to be so much better, quicker, Yeah.
Yeah. It's marketing especially is not set it and forget it.
Right. Totally.
It's, and especially with us and, we try to make sure that we have at least quarterly, conversations with our clients and making sure like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. This is the content that we're going to be writing. Is this what you want? Right. Is there something specific about that topic that you want to make sure that we hit on, and just making sure that you still have some sort of fingerprint because it's still your business. Right. We're handling one aspect of it for you, and so, and it kind of goes with, some of the other stuff, it's like if you're going to, delegate like someone to do your books for you, you're not just going to ignore that and just let them go off. You're going to want to make sure that, everything's being done correctly and that, money isn't being lost somewhere or anything like that. But yeah, and just the other thing, is just setting expectations, and I think that it's very similar to, those open lines of communication where it's just, hey, this is what I want. What can I expect from you?
Totally.
And how, make sure that, just the working relationship that you have with your vendors is what you want out of it.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And that's why I'm not sure how you guys do. Like we have like a big kickoff call, just really diving deep. And so everybody, knows what, what the goals are, how we're, what we're doing to achieve those goals, like who their ideal customer is. We're going to be spending like our marketing time based on, that buyer persona. So yeah, I figured you guys would too, but just really starting with that solid foundation and then keeping those lines of communication open.
Yeah. Well, this was a little bit of a shorter episode, but we fired through all of that. I think, and that's totally fine. But I think there was a lot of good information out there. And just, I think it's good to hear from the vendor side of things and just, what you can do to get the most ROI, because I know that that's a huge concern is making sure the ROI. And the last point I'll make to that, and I know that you feel really strong about this as well. When it comes to figuring out who you're going to work with as a vendor, and trying to justify the ROI of things, it's like, how much do you believe in what they're going to be providing for you? So, what I mean by that is, if you're going to pay $1,000 a month for, a marketing person, all right, in terms of, you can either look at it in time or just, what kind of work you're going to get. And if that time is just made up and you're going to get $1,000 worth of your time back, no brainer. But then also if they're going to generate more than $1,000 worth a month of new business for you, there's your ROI right there.
Totally. Yeah. And I like to ask for examples too, of who we worked with before and what kind of results have come through, what, different kind of campaigns. So that's always another good thing too, to ask when you're kind of like starting to look for vendors and, again, just ask questions. Like you're going to be working with these people for a while and you're really wanting to get that ROI and those best results. So ask as many questions as you want,
Yeah. So and to that point real quick, what are some questions that people should be asking? If you're in a consultation with someone, what do you want them to ask you?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of times people I work with it's a lot of social media and a lot of search engine optimization. So I'll usually provide examples of, like really successful campaigns with, screenshots and reports and everything. Search engine optimization. I'll show like our Google Search Console results and some Google Analytics showing like, this is where we started. This is where we're at, So if you can see concrete work that they've done before, that's huge,
Yeah. Awesome. So that's gonna do it. That's where we'll wrap it up here. I do have one final question for you that we ask everyone here. And that is, if you had one last final piece of advice for our lawyers out there, what would it be?
Ooh, okay. What I always like to tell people to start with for your marketing, and this could be even before you really start working with someone or looking for a vendor, is really getting your foundation in place. So take like 30 minutes or a glass of wine, cup of coffee. What are your goals that you really want to achieve? Who are your ideal customers? Like, what is your messaging branding? Like, how is your firm different from somebody else? Like, what do you provide? Like, are you an estate planner and like, you're going to take care of their family, their grandkids, like that transformation, really just understanding that foundation will also really help that vendor know where to go, especially with that kickoff call. But yeah, I always say start there. It doesn't take too long, but it really just gives you a grasp and makes it less complicated because who you're talking to, what their struggles are, and kind of where they're hanging out and where to spend your marketing efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, when you ask someone, what makes them different, and we've said this before, good customer service and cheapest rates is not the right answer. And that's because that's what most businesses will try to say. And you really got to do a good job of differentiating yourself. So that's always a good reminder.
Definitely.
There.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast the other day and the girl was like, well, do you want to be known as Walmart or Chanel? And I was like, ooh. So just kind of keep that in mind too. If you think of the messaging and, how those go, they're completely different and the people they're going, just an example to get people started.
Absolutely. Oh God, we can go down because I can get into niching down and really finding an expertise and all that.
I know. There's like a million marketing things to talk about. That's why I love it. And it's like always changing, always something new, always. Yeah.
Awesome. So how can people get in touch with you, learn more about you? I know you also have a podcast, so let people know how they can find that.
Yeah, my podcast is called Bubbles and Biz. I send champagne to all my guests and we chat about our entrepreneurial journey and apps we love and their favorite way to market their business. So there's all kinds of fun nuggets on those. And that's anywhere you listen to podcasts. And then my website is nb.marketing. And I've got some, free resources on there as well. And social media, same thing, nb.mktg. So whatever marketing shortened across all those platforms too. So yeah.
Awesome. So definitely go check out the podcast. Sounds like fun. I mean, when there's alcohol involved, it's probably.
I know. We'll have to have you on. It would be so much fun. We can talk about marketing a little bit more too.
Absolutely. Would love to.
That'd be fun.
Awesome. So that's going to do it for us this week. Hope you had got some really good insight there. Definitely go explore some marketing vendors if you're feeling squeezed and you feel like you don't have enough time and you want to free up some time to just enjoy doing what you are actually trying to do with your business. So, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us this week. Continue to rate, review us on Apple Podcast, leaving the feedback wherever the show is found. We love seeing what you guys are saying. If you have another topic that you want us to cover, let me know what it is and I can go find the expert and we can chat about it. Nicole, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening. To learn more, go to spotlightbranding.com/center stage.